Alright, 6 a.m. the next morning, very overcast day, very cold wind, but the evening did pass without incident. I was left undisturbed the entire night. I zonked out really early too, like by about 8 p.m. I was like struggling to keep my eyes open, and actually rested all the way through to about 5 a.m, which is an unusually long time for me to be, well, not asleep, because again, I don't sleep properly, but sleep adjacent with, portions of actual sleep. So, yeah, very relieved to have nothing, not pissed off any locals or anything, or get some rent-a-cops knocking on the van, or have someone otherwise mess with the van. Right, so let's get cleaned up and definitely hunt down some early morning breakfast, because I am very grumbly in the dumbly this morning, as I predicted I would be at the end of yesterday's vlog. Did not really eat enough yesterday, or certainly not late enough yesterday. Had a Macca's breakfast, and aside from one of those chewy OT bar thingies, that was about it. That was a bad plan. That's probably why I zonked out so early. Blood sugar just went pfft. Anyway, see you in the next edit. Hey, are you struggling to wake up in the mornings, even though you've got a 5 degrees Celsius wind chill factor and you slept in a van last night on a incredibly crappy self-inflating mattress? Have you thought about installing a raw metal toilet in your home? Just hopping up on one of those thrones first thing in the morning, that'll wake you up. It's brisk on the old bare buttocks is what it is. It's a buttock and briskening experience. I mean, yeah, sure, people are responsible for maintenance and upkeep of these parks. They're very robust, aren't they? Very hard to damage. Super easy to clean, I imagine. But a little bit of comfort in your design wouldn't go astray. Just plastic seat on the top, something. All the rest can be metal, just something where the skin touches the bare metal. A little barrier there is what we need. Anyway, morning. So it is still pretty early. I found the nearest Woolies supermarket, and another 20-25 minutes till they actually open, which that's fine. I can sit there for that long. But there is a bakery over there, and I just rolled down my driver's side window to get a nice clearer shot of the Woolies for the B-roll, because the window's a bit splotchy. I've been on a lot of dirty places recently, as evidenced by the side of the van there. So the windows definitely need to clean. They're not harming my vision, but it doesn't look good through a camera. The depth thing, having smudgy glass close to the lens and trying to focus on stuff far away, it doesn't look good. Anyway, rolled down the window and got a snootful, an absolute sensory assault of sweet pastries and breads baking, because there is I didn't notice it at first because all I was concentrating on was the supermarket, but as soon as the window went down, I went, there's a bakery nearby and there's one right next to it. So I was thinking about getting some, cheese and bacon rolls from Woolworths, but the temptation of fresh baked goods is right there. However, we must think about the budget, and I'll be paying 2 to 3 times at Baker's Delight for a lovely little tasty bready breakfast of some kind than I would at Woolworths, even though the Woolworths version, will be cold stored at least, if not frozen, fresh from frozen. So, how badly do I want fresh baked goods is the question. I have to go into Woolworths either way because I need some other stuff. I've almost run out of the those little tablet things, the Voost and the vitamin tablet things I've been dissolving in my water just for a little extra health boost, but mostly because of the flavour. Just to flavour the water so it doesn't get so boring. But, extra trace minerals and whatnot can't hurt. But, I need more of those for a start. There's a couple of things I need. I forgot. What was it? And it'll come to me. Or it won't. And I'll get annoyed at myself for forgetting stuff again. But yeah, I've had to roll the window back up. Not just because it's cold outside, but because the smell of that bakery was driving me insane. Full-on Pavlovian reaction. Nom, nom, nom. Well, don't know what happened there, but as soon as I got up on my feet and started lurching around the grocery store, energy levels just bled out of me like there was kryptonite in the floor. Started to feel pretty mopey too. Wonder what that was about. Hope it doesn't stick. Anyway, cost of coming to the supermarket too early is they hadn't put out the fresh-ish cheese and bacon rolls yet, or any of the bakery goods really. So what I have for breakfast this morning is first off this, which is a Real Coffee Ice Break triple shot, which supposedly there's 3 shots worth of caffeine or whatever in it. There's a guy on TikTok that I ran across randomly last night, just doom scrolling, who actually does tests on these, using proper scientific equipment to find out how much caffeine is in various coffee drinks, and he's even done a few energy drinks. And I don't know whether he did this brand, but he did a very, very similar brand that's also on Australian shelves, and it turns out it didn't have as much caffeine as I said it did. Their double shot equivalent or whatever it was had slightly less than 2 shots of espresso worth of caffeine in it. Certainly less than the label indicated anyway, because caffeine will vary depending on the brew and the beans and all that kind of stuff. And but they do label these things. It says 250 milligrams of caffeine is supposed to be in this. It's probably less, but it's certainly more than 1 cup of coffee. So they're quite sweet as well. They're not really a replacement for having a proper coffee, but it was like $3.50 or whatever off the shelf on sale, and it's a pretty big drink, and seemed like a pretty good value just to get some caffeine and sugars and whatnot into me. I also, in lieu of the bacon and cheese rolls that I wanted but weren't even on the shelf yet, I got yesterday's ham and cheese croissant. They're a little sad looking, but they were on special for $3, $1.50 each for a cheese and ham croissant from yesterday. Appetizing. Basically, mostly I got these because, well, I do love a cheese and ham croissant. Mostly it was to stop me going into Baker's Delight and spending premium baked good money. Alright, look at this sad old thing. You know how croissants are supposed to be flaky, not rubbery? Oh, that is disappointing. That is properly disappointing. Ham's alright. It's pretty decent ham, but can't say much about anything else in it. Oh well, it's, calories, and carbs, I suppose a little bit of calcium from the cheese, a little bit of protein from the ham. Seems like a balanced breakfast to me. It's not going to hold me. But, it'll do to shake off the morning. And, get some fuel in the system so I can start thinking about what the bloody hell I'm supposed to be doing today. I wonder if this town has a library. I could hang out in the library for ages. I probably have Wi-Fi in there too. People have suggested that. Go to a library. Quiet, warm, Wi-Fi. People tend to leave you alone. Not worth trying. I don't know. It's a reasonably small town though. We'll see. Do want to try and get something done today. Just be productive. Because I'm starting to, the only thing keeping me accountable day to day, I think, is these vlogs at this point. I'm doing things so there's things to be done and seen doing. I think if I was not being held accountable by that, doing the daily vlogs, I don't know. I'd be very, very tempted to pull up somewhere quiet, spiral into a little pit of misery, and start wasting away. Well, maybe not wasting away. What was I talking about? I don't know. I better finish my croissant so I can start thinking properly and get into that coffee. Well, coffee drink. Do they actually call this coffee or coffee drink? No, it says real coffee. Real coffee. Fruit drink, coffee drink. They can't legally call it fruit juice or coffee. This one you can, apparently. Righto. Hey, good news. The very, very disappointing ham and cheese croissant that I had. The second one is even worse. It has basically no cheese or ham in it. Like the first entire half of it, there was nothing. There's a little bit of ham in the second half. But, a little bit of cheese too, so it was only half ham and cheese croissant. The other one was just day old chewy croissant. Cool. It's going to be one of those days, is it? Okay. Bring it on. Or don't. Please don't. I've got very few coping tools right now. Can you just be chill for today, universe? Can we do that? There is a library in this town, a little community library. Looks very cute. Also closed on Sundays. So, par for the course lately. Have an idea, make a plan. Oh, that sounds good and peaceful and joyful, and I'll be able to do a thing. Nope. Figured out what the problem was at the supermarket. Why it seemed to pull me right down and just zoink me out. Figured that out the instant I tried to hit the road. And it's auditory sensibility. So a lot of you might be familiar with the concept of sensory sensitivity in autistic people. And I've talked about it a few times in these vlogs when it comes to sort of driving specifically, and the amount of sensory information coming in and how it's processed, and how that happens differently in autistic brains than neurotypical brains, and how it's more work. It's a manual process. The things that sort of people absorb just kind of on automatic, that doesn't happen for many autistic people. And some days it's more difficult than others. And some days we are so sensitive to sensory input. And for some of us, it'll be all sensory input. For some of us, it'll be specific to just, one or two of the senses, like smells might be overwhelming, or bright light. For example, I'm light sensitive most of the time. I just went outside. I'm parked up at a park that's just a few minutes from the supermarket I was at, because I was like, I can't drive safely like this. So I parked briefly in front of someone's house and searched on the map for a nearby, dog park or playground or something that would be, somewhere quiet to park. And so I've been sitting here for literally 5 hours. Just sitting here in the Shuttlepod for 5 hours, just sort of doom scrolling. Mostly TikTok, frankly. On low volume, because even regular volume on the phone, even just TikTok stuff is it's just hard. But yeah, I just stepped out of the van for the first time to go use public restrooms on the other side of the playground near where I am, and even I had to walk most of the way, eyes shut. I'm not even kidding. I'd open them up and go, okay, the next 15 steps are that direction, and just squinting through eyelashes, trying to make sure I didn't trip over something, just looking at the ground. Seems like in the cabin here it's just enough, and it's a very, very overcast day, but that overcast day means everything's the same light level, which terrible for photography, and also there's so much reflected light around and no direct light to sit in a shade, or it's just it's difficult. But yeah, it's the auditory sensitivity that's the most today, and that's why the supermarket got to me, because it was people and the music and the sound of the staff members, the stocking shelves and pulling off internet orders for pickups and deliveries and stuff, because that apparently happens first thing in the morning. They run around with these big carts and beep beep beep, pulling off the products that people have ordered. And usually I'm fairly aware of when that stuff is getting to me. For some reason this morning it didn't immediately clock. That's what the problem was. I thought it was just I hadn't had breakfast. I didn't have enough fuel in the tank, and I didn't eat properly yesterday, so I figured that was it. I just need my croissant and my coffee, and I'll be fine. Wasn't fine. So, feeling a little bit trapped, frankly, because I don't know whether this particular place is a good place to stay overnight. I am in suburbia. There are people's houses just 30, 40 meters away over there. I don't know whether this is a Karen type neighborhood where someone's seeing a van parked up next to a children's playground. This is going to ring some alarm bells, and I'm going to get someone calling the boys in blue or something. I guess that caravan park is quite close by. I could probably make that, but that's more money. But yeah, that I figured it out. That's why I'm having a increasingly rough day. Even here, it's been very, very quiet. There, a few families turned up first thing in the morning, just to bring their kids down to have a play in the morning. But it's been pretty quiet for the last 2 or 3 hours at least. Nobody's really come by. Occasionally, there's someone who parks up and takes their dog, because there's a walking track and apparently an off-leash dog area quite close by. So I've seen some doggos, and one of them actually nosed up to the door, very curious about who I was. So I opened the door and had a brief interaction with Papa, a black Labrador, who was just a sweetheart, of course, because Labradors are sweethearts, just how they're built. But yeah, aside from that, just been sitting here alone, in the relative silence, trying to let my brain decompress, but it's... And I know a lot of you have suggested, oh, well, you know, because I've, you know, less than a week ago I stayed at that noisy caravan park and I complained about the noise, and you know, people go, no, just use earplugs or noise cancelling headphones. And I have noise cancelling headphones. They're quite old at this point. They're starting to fall apart, unfortunately. Sony HX100 somethings, I think the first version of that, they're excellent. But they, when you wear those in quiet environments, the noise cancelling system, what they do is they've got microphones on the outside. They generate inverse sound wave on the inside of the headphones to, you know, cancel it out. You know, property of waves. Invert wave will cancel out the original wave. It's simple physics. But that also creates a pressure, like a sound pressure. Even though it's not audible sound, I feel that sound pressure. And on days like today, when I'm especially auditory sensitive, I can't wear sound cancelling headphones. I wear them very commonly on normal days where I'm not acutely sensitive, but I do want to block out city noise, for example. When I would walk into, you know, the CBD or whatever, I would wear them as a preventative measure to help stop that drone of the city creating a problem in the first place. But if the problem is already triggered, or present is probably a better word, because nothing triggers it really, but it can be exacerbated. The noise cancelling headphones don't work because I feel that sound pressure from the inverse waves that these speakers are generating, even though I can't hear it. You know, by design I can't hear it. It still feels like being slightly underwater, but without the muffle. It's really hard to describe to anyone who can't sense it. Almost like you want your ears to pop, but again, without the muffled sound. It's just... Can someone else who's ever felt this just find a better way to describe it? Because it's one of those things I've never found a metaphor to help people understand what it feels like. But yeah, the day's getting on, and I'm going to have to figure out what tonight is. So, alright, I'm going to put the phone down now because another parent and the pupper and a very small child has pulled up, and I don't want it to look like I'm trying to film them through my windscreen, because they might think the back camera is active, not the front camera, and I don't want to freak her out. So, well, still here, where I was in the last cut. A few more hours later. Bit of a roller coaster last couple of hours. I actually managed to dissociate, which is not a good thing. In the context of autistics suffering sensory overload, overstimulation, basically I just shut down. And I mean more or less went catatonic for, as far as I can figure, at least 90 minutes, sitting right here. Just don't know if I can even relax my face enough to emulate it. Just staring up. You know when you, like a regular person, will just you stare into the middle distance and you zone out for a little bit. It's like that, but turned up to 11 or 82. Like, I'm talking, nothing's processing. Your body's on automatic, breathing, heartbeat, that kind of stuff. But you're more or less blind to anything going on around you, because your brain's just gone into survival protective mode, basically. It's the last ditch protective mode. Unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, turns out the town I'm in is also home to a friend. And I didn't realize that. I think she did tell me at one point, but I came here because, as you saw in the last video, the campsite's kind of failed on me. or video before last. I forget. It's all blurring together. I'm still not processing properly. But she actually hunted me down because I mentioned on Discord before the shutdown. She's like, "Oh, are you still in this area? Because I live nearby. I can get there. Would you like to play with the dog?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm still in the area. I'm just sitting in the park, kind of zoning out because I nearly had a shutdown in a supermarket, but I didn't realise what was going on, and kind of stuff I told you earlier." And apparently, sometime after that exchange is when I went dissociative, because they were out and about and hunting parks in the local area, seeing if they can find me. This was the last one they tried, last one they needed to try, but last one to try, I guess. And the dog jumped up on the car door because I've met the dog before, and he and I get along swimmingly. But it did snap me out hardcore of the dissociative situation I was in. You know, the kind of thing where you see on TV shows, and don't wake a sleepwalker. It's kind of that. Don't jump scare someone in a dissociative condition. I flinched hard, and just the whole system went into overdrive and protected. I think I even curled into a ball. I honestly don't remember much because I was still coming out of it. But yeah, it was a very unpleasant way to come out of a dissociative state. But the next fistful of time, I'm not even sure how long we spent hanging out because there was a dog park nearby, so I went to the dog park and played with the dog and played with a bunch of other dogs, and I even spoke to some strangers about their dogs. I had social interaction. Well, I had some social interaction. My friend carried most of it, I think. But yeah, I played with all the dogs and made friends with the dogs, and I think that did me quite a bit of good. I feel much more relaxed than I was, much more calm. We did get stuck in the dog park because it started hammering down with rain. Luckily, it was a covered sort of pagoda, gazebo, a shelter that you could stand under when it was raining. The dogs didn't care; they played in the rain. But we sat on the shelter and just shot the shit for a while. A little bit of human interaction, conversation, which was genuinely the first extended conversation I've had in weeks, months, because I was in a real dark place before, getting homeless. I didn't really speak to anyone much then, and then afterwards it's all been travelling, and the only interaction I've had is, online, in private or in the chat here, or not chat, comment section, I guess. Can't really call it a chat, can we? Because it's not live. But just having an actual conversation with a person and having the dogs. It undoubtedly did me some good. I still feel kind of off. And I think I'm just going to have to try and crash in this car park tonight because I'm just not okay to drive. I'm going to reposition the car into a slightly, a more secluded corner of this little car park, just so I don't, again, call attention to myself. But yeah, I think tomorrow maybe find a paid campsite or a caravan park or something, and I don't know if there's any other option but to splurge for another couple of days, because I'm not okay, and I need to acknowledge that. I need to try again to get a little bit of respite, maybe actually active this time instead of just vegetating and watching cartoons like I did last time, to try and decompress. Maybe trying to create something, be productive, be creative, but make something will help. Just engage different parts of my brain. I don't know. I got to try anything, something. All I know is I can't be on the roads especially not, for another 2 hours or 3 hours moving to the next town or finding the next free campsite out in the wild or, whatever. It's, yeah. So, that's my day today. Really not what I expected it to be. So, thank you to those of you who help support this whole journey, experience, especially those who are active with the likes and the comments, and of course, special thank you to the PayPal, Patreon, Super Chats, and extra super duper thank you to my friend and Scout, the dog. Hey, Scout. And she also set me up with a camping stove that her dad bought apparently and never used for a failed envisioned camping adventure that never happened or whatever. So I've got a proper camping stove now and fuel for it. So maybe I can start eating a little better as well, so long as I don't get too lazy. It's unfair to say lazy. Too burnt out to try and do the full self-care thing by actually warming up a meal. Like it's so hard. Anyway, thank you. And see you in the next one.